The final piece of, the final task that I wanted to show you on Tuesday the 18th was a typical data entry type of interface. And I want to talk about where this the point of this and things like that. So basically, this is what students typically need to do for their overall assessment task, the SAT school assessed task, which is to create a user interface which allows for entry into a database, data being read from a database, and also a complex function which they call a search or a sort. And this is just this is a basic introduction, not a basic introduction, it's just a basic interface that has some of the functionality. It allows us to check for data entry to make sure we are putting in correct data, and by correct I mean that it is that the data exists, it is the correct type, and also it is a correct range. And we'll talk about all of those things as well. This also allows us to do some things in terms of object-oriented programming, which doesn't make up a huge part of what's going on here. It also allows us to use classes. And I'll go through that, but that's essentially what this is for. So I'll just take you through what goes on with this system, and the version you will get will be a lot more involved than what we have here. So I'm going to bring up the console as well so we can see things being put in. Where's my console? Idle, there it is. Okay, so you may already see I've already done some things there. So basically the idea of this is that this is, like I said, it's a typical thing for what happens. And it's a typical user interface where a user can enter in data. So one thing we've got to be wary of is errors. So if I just click, data entry. So if I just click on, add, it will show you need to enter a first name, you need to enter a surname, it needs to be a number, you need to enter a first name. It just does that again because of how I structured the program. So that's basically some rudimentary error checking. Ideally, you would have a pop-up box which would pop up here or something like that, and I just don't have that functionality built in, but hopefully you'll get the idea. So if I put in, so the idea is that as I put in some data, if I say add, our error changes. So and then we need to put a surname. So I'm going to put in Potter. And I'm going to say the age is, I'm going to say 12. I think that I don't really watch Harry Potter. I've seen it, but I don't really know what goes on or how old he was. So if I put in 12 there, like that, I'm going to get another error. Or rather, we're seeing, okay, Harry's been entered into the database, surname's Potter, the house is Gryffindor, and 12 is the age. But like it says here, the age needs to be a number. So we're going to put that in there. And now, because I'm going to do that, and I haven't been given any errors over here. So what this allows for is it allows to check for existence types. So here we have an existence, here we have an existence, and here we have a type. The data type. So here what it's looking for is a string. So this would prompt discussions about what a string is, a collection of characters. Doesn't do anything. And I like to say a string, it can be numbers. Like if I put in 5654 E, whatever, and I say add, it's put it in there, like that exists. So a string can be anything, a collection of characters. I think the definition is that it's an array of characters or a list of characters. Doesn't matter what those characters are, it's just something there. The way I describe a string to my students is you can't do maths to it. You can't do maths to a string. Like you can't do this string plus this string and get a result out of it, even if they're numbers. If you were to do this plus this, it would concatenate them, which combine basically into one string. So that's the way I tend to describe that. And we'll talk about our numbers here, and we'll talk about the importance of integers versus floating point or doubles or whatever you may be familiar with there. So that's the way I'd be going through this kind of thing here. So in terms of age, and I haven't put this in there, but hopefully you'll have it there. we're looking at adding students to a school system. I don't know how old the ages are at Hogwarts, but I'm assuming something like 12 to 18, because that's typical here in Australia. That's what we have here. So what you would do as well as that, you would make it so that if a student put in, say, 1 as the age, or sorry, not a student, if a user put in 1 as the age, you would get an error saying no, that's not quite right. So that we would talk about that being a range error. Likewise, if a student put in 100, yes, it's, or sorry, not a student, if the user entered in 100 as the age, great, that's a number, it'll work. But once again, we want a range error saying that we can't be more than 18 or something like that. So that's how we would look at doing something like that. In terms of using a drop-down menu, it's a bit like using a set of radio buttons, but it's a bit more user-friendly, I guess. I don't know. But once again, it's like saying, okay, we've only got those, and I don't know if I spelled things correctly. We've only got these things to choose from. So it's okay, we could choose that, and we'll say add, and it'll add this person to this with this age, but the age isn't working, to House Gryffindor. So that's the way I'd structure that kind of a thing. The next video talks about object-oriented programming.